our first story, at least 4 people have been killed in renewed chieftaincy clashes at Boku in the Upper East region. Reports indicate that one of the deceased is a policewoman who was on a visit in the area. Upper East Regional Police are yet to make an official statement on the new clashes, but the Regional Security Council have banned the riding of motorcycles within Boku and its environs with immediate effect following the clashes which began Sunday afternoon. Upper East correspondent Albert joins me live for more on this. Albert, give us a detailed report about how this started. All right, seems like we have lost Albert. Sorry there. But let's go to the Western region, where a rider of the motorbike involved in Thursday's explosion at Apeatse in that region says, contrary to claims that he collided with the vehicle carrying the explosives, he was at the hospital getting ready to receive treatment when the explosion happened. The rider, who was brought to the community to be interrogated by the Criminal Investigations Department, says he is traumatized knowing that his motorbike caused the death of many and also destroyed an entire village. Maxwell Agwagba has the rest of the story.
Friends of the motorbike rider hold his hand as he walks towards personnel of the Criminal Investigations Department who are seated waiting to interrogate him on what he knows about the crash which led to the explosion. The rider limping with his legs and arms bandaged. There are bruises visible on his left hand. He was later taken to the crash site and other details taken. Philip Mensah says, contrary to claims that he collided with a vehicle carrying explosives, he did not. The tricycle crossed the vehicle in front of me. The driver applied his brakes. I also did the same. Then another vehicle hit me from the back. I fell on the road and my motorbike also kept moving. I did not see the car that hit me from the rear because it was behind me. That was the point people rushed me to the hospital, he said. About 30 minutes later, as the medical team prepared to treat my wounds, we heard the explosion. All the nurses fled the hospital because they said there was fire. Later, they realized the facility wouldn't be affected. So I was not at the scene when the explosion happened. You can ask the nurses and the doctors on duty. I have no idea when the vehicle carrying the explosives crashed into my motorbike because I was rushed to the hospital in a taxi. It was another vehicle, not the vehicle carrying the explosives, he said with tears forming in his eyes.
Explosive car don't be share.
I don't know me time I can't be share me motor because me no the top from 9 D in be an base ni free buy madam better taxi ni me call. Okay. But what's massive? Aha.
The car from the ball any explosive car.
Car no ebo me mechi.
Philip Mensah says it has to know that his motorbike caused the explosion.
Me feel bad pa. If you say me nimpa. Na you asen so yen hina ye nuanom.
I feel very bad. I'm human. We are all humans with different parents. Whether my family members are part of the dead or not, it hurts my soul. There's so much pain in my heart. People have varying accounts of what happened. Some are even saying I collided with a vehicle carrying explosives. Only God knows the true story, because I was not here.
That's all.
Meanwhile, the municipal chief executive of Prestia Huni Valley, Isaac Dasmani, says there are plans to reconstruct the community that was devastated by the explosion.
Today, CEO of also Ghana Gas also came today and then offered a check of our 2 million Ghana cedis to us. We are planning for a music meeting, hopefully tomorrow, Monday, that we inaugurate a committee of members of our 11 or 12, So that we'll be foreseeing the disbursement of some of the relief items, and then how we are going to cater for the displaced in the course of the year. So for now, we are proposing some clergy, some pastors, about 5 people from the community, including 2 females, and then my good self, and then some other security agencies that we feel is appropriate, so that we manage the resources that we are getting, and at the end of the day, to the benefit of the people of Apeatse. Then when it comes to the reconstruction, a lot of companies have come in, and then State Housing has been here, some other agencies have been here, and people go, Ghana Chamber of Mines, they've also offered building materials of $50,000. So all these materials are in here, and then some people, you can see that some people are even bringing some containers that we can keep some of the items in. Yes, and then we have some people who have also started donating some boards, the wood that we can also use for reconstruction and all of that. So the support has been massive. Now we are only waiting for EPA to clear us that the place is appropriate for us to start, rebuilding. So if as soon as they give us the green light, we'll get those out to clear off the site and remove all the debris, and then we'll deposit them somewhere. Then probably we'll start thinking about, we know now the time is going to be properly planned. We may need an extension. So we are thinking about some other areas that very close that we can, extend the building to some of the places. Because of course, when you are building, you can't build like the way they have built their houses. We need to make sure that we do proper planning, and then so that they can have a good facility to stay in.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Psychiatric Association says residents of Apeatse are likely to suffer a myriad of psychological challenges if assessment of affected persons delays. Speaking on the AM show, President of the Psychiatric Association of Ghana, Dr. Ruth Owusu-Entry, said residents are likely to resort to unhealthy coping strategies that can be suicidal.
People can develop what we call obsessive compulsive disorder. People can develop somatization disorders. Somatization disorder is a big word, but what it means is that people begin to now experience bodily symptoms for no apparent medical reason. So you are having headaches, you are having burning sensation under your feet, there are tingling sensations all over your body, there is pain in the knee, pain here and there. You have done a buttress of labs and you are medically fit, but these symptoms are persistent. So when these things happen, then the person is going through somatization disorder, and it's very common in men. And then again, people are likely to resort to substance misuse, because out of the anxiety, they resort to non-healthy means of coping or non-healthy coping mechanisms. Some people may resort to drinking away their worries, their fears, and eventually land into substance dependence, especially alcohol. And then again, very worrying again is the high correlation of some of these traumatic experiences and occurrences and suicidality. Many people, especially the men, who think that their whole fortune has been ruined or have been shut down by this explosion, would decide that it's not worth living. All that they have lived for and fought for has been crushed in one explosion, would decide that it's not worth living again. And suicide is another risk that we should quickly look out for and intervene. So I think we have been slow, but this is just about a week to the incident, and I think that Psychiatric Association of Ghana is coming in a bit early to averse and otherwise extremely delay of that intervention. And so I think that we have been a bit slow, but this time around it has been relatively faster compared to other disasters that have happened.
Let's cross over to my colleague Maxwell Agraba for the latest. Maxwell, what can you tell us?
Well, Matt, we are here at the St. Michael's Catholic Church. We are
here at the St. Michael's Catholic Church, and this building is serving as a shelter for the about 300 people who were displaced. In fact, the men have been separated from the women and children here. So the men are at a location known as the Golden Hotel Annex, and that is where they are. But what is happening right now, this queue is for breakfast, and they're serving them beverage, and then you can see some bread, there. So they are lining up, and then they'll take the breakfast. Later in the afternoon also, they'll be served lunch, and then later in the evening, they get dinner as well. That has been the routine, here at the St. Michael's Catholic Church. But what is likely to happen later in the day, we are told, the relocation of the displaced persons. Many of them have had cause to raise concerns about the St. Michael's Catholic Church, and in fact, the MC tells me that we want to move them to a more spacious and a bigger, accommodation to accommodate, the numbers. So later in the day, that is expected to happen. We are also told that later in the day, there will be a music meeting, a municipal security council meeting, and that meeting is supposed to form a committee. At that meeting, they will form a committee, and that committee will be in charge of the various funds and donations that they've been receiving so far. Talk about donations. A lot of that has been pouring in for the affected persons, and you can see this Kia truck with these donations are coming through, and then we have the NADMO, the deputy NADMO director for the municipality is actually here receiving them. Let me see if I can get him to speak to us briefly. So you're welcome to join.
Thank you.
What's the name?
I'm Louis Afo,
deputy
NADMO director.
Tell me about the donations pouring in for the people. Do you have enough?
Oh, we have enough. We have enough.
But in this situation, you still need more.
We need more. Oliver Twist said we need more. Even as I'm speaking, Nana and his mom from Odumase are here to present what they have for these victims, and it's a whole lot. This is a full unsold cloth. They say it's almost 82, which we are going to receive. Then see those who are in need, then we give it to them. So we have received a lot of items.
What else? So for those watching who would want to come to your aid, what are your immediate needs?
Oh, our immediate needs are very much, because as human, you always need something, especially the women's. We have pregnant women, breastfeeding mothers, and the kids too. So we need a whole lot, but people are bringing, and we appreciate that. Especially Go First Ghana Limited brought us tent that can accommodate almost 10 in a room. Red Cross also did the same. Ghana Gas was here yesterday. I learned now, as I'm speaking, something too has come from Mr. Ibrahim Mohammed's camp, which is very much.
So we saw that on social media yesterday.
Yes.
So I want to know your immediate needs are what? Basically what?
Basically, we need things like cooked food, because we don't have enough space to cook the items they are bringing. I'm not saying they should stop bringing them, they should bring, but almost 3 days ago, the people around were bringing cooked food, so as at this morning, you see them eating, but now it's not coming as regular. So we are hoping people will hear us and bring more cooked food, because they are in need, and we should, the entire nation should pray for Apeatse people, because it's a whole lot.
Okay.
It's a whole lot.
Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Great. So another thing that is happening here, aside from the donations that they're receiving here, is also medical screening. So for many people who were injured in that explosion, there's a team here, which is quite good, because now they do not have to board vehicles to go to the hospital to have their wounds dressed. There's a team here that is doing that for them. And you can see many of them are seated in plastic chairs waiting for their turn to have their wounds dressed and then also assessed. There's also a psychological team that's providing psychological support for the people also here. I'll be speaking to the team lead shortly. Opinion, Etisan? And you been person, I didn't see an
Okay, now I'm buying her there. Now this time tonight, baby, I'm going to name Mua. Name Mua to me, a brasty to me, a became. My mama saw opera, and my son, and I feel so handsome. Me had so I did, and so April.
Well, he said he was not standing very close to the explosion site, but he says that he sustained some injuries. You can see his forehead. He says he has bruises also on his chest and then other parts of his body. Let's move closer. So it's not just the adults who are injured. It's heartbreaking, especially to see women and children who also sustained injuries. Look at this little baby. You can still see her bruises, you know, and she's crying. Pacha, no to say.
Na ma di ni ja ofie nti wo se edan bui na ogunogo
edan bui na egunu so oh
no mo yetu ti ba ko na wo me de ofiri no ka
nti ni nu afiri mu
mo beni change ofiri mu ofiri
well like I said quite hard, not quite very heartbreaking, you know, here perhaps so this child you're seeing here, her sister died as a result of the explosion. We're told that they were in a room together when their building collapsed and then the rubble fell on the sister. Her sister died, but she survived. And you can see the bruises on her face. Earlier, before we got closer to her, she was crying. It's Obama answer one another. What's sister name? Okay. So that's the sister's daughter. Oh. Minsu, why? Minsu. Well, there's another child here who is also, whose wounds are being dressed here by the team, also sustained a lot of injuries. Mommy in Pacha Frost.
Pacha Fremi Anas.
Obano, Ebano Sen on no surprise.
Oh, Meko Eduma. Nam de Nija. Miko Eduma. Tim Namin Nifie. Tiana wa school man at say. I be at to be just a kind of tiser. Timmy buy and dimly come by and son, I hold on either. Ashwa, to say no one in an hour, mamma. Tinny me a penny back, no, on any woofy. To acquire no, not I didn't trust sign or official winner on the name Danny. Now, in chance to dine, a big tushin has saying a Johnny be she named him.
A done the jiggle.
Bachan.
A done the jiggle.
A done the
Janice. So, the mother of this child here, who also has a lot of bruises and cuts on the head, on parts of her body, her stomach, she says she went out. She actually went to town to find, you know, some money for the family, and then when she came back, she saw this. You're told that this little girl was actually in a room, but the fire that followed the explosion is what has caused the bruises on her head, part of her head, and then part of her body. Really sad scenes here. Let me speak to this woman who is also coming to have a wound dressed here. Buso Diana, what happened to you? Sorry, why? So he suffered burns as a result of the fire that followed the explosion. And
some sad scenes from the western region there after that explosion. But let me take